There is no shortage of tormented characters in Silksong. You've got Lace, who has the ultimate mother complex, Phantom, who's been isolated for however many years, Sherma, who learns that his whole faith in religion is a lie, Loam, who has been running on a treadmill to the point where he sounds like he drinks cigarettes, not to mention the countless pilgrims who straight up die or get possessed or what have you. It really feels like Team Cherry decided they could go all out because, they're just bugs. But in my humble opinion, there's one character whose trauma sandwich is actually a whole buffet. Maybe not the most tormented character, cause honestly you can't compare trauma, that's a big no-no. But her life has definitely not been all sunshine and rainbows. Her story is one of obsession, ostracization, and getting massive pins stuck through your spine. Classic. Except a lot of her story is hidden somewhat. This is a Hollow Knight game after all. We can't have the lore just handed to us on a silver platter. But that's why I'm here. So let's dive in and find out all we can about Widow. Strap in, folks. It's gonna be a wild ride. To understand Widow, we first gotta rewind to the foundation of Farloom. That being the Weavers. The Weavers are spider-like creatures, all female, who have the powerful ability to turn soul into silk, which can then be used to craft tools, runes, and spells. They were originally evolved from Farlids by Grandmother Silk. They were told they were the daughters of Grandmother Silk and that they were divine. For some time, they served under her rule, playing music to sustain her. But at some point, they turned on their supposed mother. They crafted a trap within the citadel to lull Grandmother Silk to sleep using song. To sustain the song, the Weavers crafted the religion that's prominent in the Farloom we know, luring pilgrims to join the choir in the citadel and even enticing those from other lands to come as well, such as those on the surface in the nameless town. For some time, the Weavers were the rulers of Farloom. They were considered divine and were worshipped by the rest of the bugs. Eventually, however, they realized their song wouldn't be enough to contain Grandmother Silk forever. Either that, or they weren't content that they would never be the true rulers of Farloom. That role would forever be filled by Grandmother Silk. So their new plan was to flee. They passed the burden of rule onto the conductors in the Citadel and left. Several ended up in Weavenest, which leads to everything with Hera the Beast and Hornet's birth. During this, a few Weavers actually decided to stay in Farloom. These are the ones found in the burial spires, the ones who remained so that a Weaver or a descendant of Weaver could come, find their skills, and gain enough power to destroy Grandmother Silk once and for all. Widow is one of these Weavers who stayed behind, though not for the purpose the other Weavers shared. In fact, Widow was against her sister spiders entirely, for one reason only. She never lost her devotion to Grandmother Silk. Now that we know what the Weavers are, we can talk about Widow's backstory. First things first. Widow was one of the original Weavers evolved by Grandmother Silk. By the time we see her in the game, she is the last of the first, meaning she is the last remaining Weaver from that original line. But she's also very different from the other Weavers we've seen. Her Hunter Journal entry says that her mask had been forcibly removed and her own silk bound useless by heavy pins lodged through her spine. The obvious question here is, how did she become like that? Who did all that to her? Or did she do it to herself? Well, as I mentioned, she was not allied with her sisters. Quite the opposite. While the rest of the Weavers turned on Grandmother Silk, Widow never did. We're never told this explicitly, but it's implied then that the Weavers were the ones to punish Widow so severely. After Hornet defeats Widow and Bellhart, we're granted a cutscene, which is a memory from Widow or a mash of several memories. This right here is the bread and butter of Widow's story. We're gonna be analyzing the heck out of it, but for now, I want to point out one thing, that being this door right here. This is the same door found in all of the weave nests throughout Farloom. Weave nests are, well, nests for the Weavers. They made them in secret, on the far edges of Farloom, so that they could scheme and craft without Grandmother Silk's notice. They were basically the laboratories for these mad spider scientists. The only way to enter any of them is by playing the Needle-in, a Weaver-only skill. What's interesting is that one of these doors is found in Widow's memory. That tells me that Widow knew about these weave nests, which implies several things. Widow was aware, or at least partially aware, of what her sisters were doing. which was scheming against their mother. For someone who's as devoted as Widow, it then makes sense that Widow would try to stop them. This then led to the Weavers turning against her. They removed her mask and bound her own silk useless so that she would no longer be a threat to them. From there, it's implied that Widow spent her time in hiding, primarily in the cradle. This is proven by the needle in memory found in the cradle, which shows a silhouette of Widow, specifically a Widow whose mask has already been removed and whose silk has already been bound. Lots of time passed. Eventually, after the Weavers fled Farloom, Widow found her way to Bellhart. There, using the strands of silk already there, she ensnared the residents of Bellhart as an offering to Grandmother Silk. That's where Hornet finds her in the game, playing her song on the silk. Upon noticing Hornet, Widow recognizes her as a daughter of Weaver and Worm. After saying she'll claim Hornet all for Grandmother Silk, the fight begins. By the end of it, Hornet will bind Widow's needle-in ability, and we're given that same memory cutscene I mentioned earlier. Well, now's about the right time to really dig into it. The memory takes place in a strange silk dimension. This area is the same kind as the ones found after obtaining the silk hearts. Except, unlike those other times with the silk hearts, this one is centered around Widow. Those other instances are all about Grandmother Silk, possibly even her memories. This is proven by the existence of the same platforms found in the cradle and the dialogue that's obviously from Grandmother Silk herself, as well as the constant, slow pulsing from her ball of silk found in the cradle. Another of these silk dimensions is found after defeating First Sinner, another Weaver. That memory is the one that tells us how Weavers were evolved from Farlids, and the environment in that sequence matches the content, looking like the Blasted Steppes or other caverns found in Farloom, which is where Farlids are found. This one, after defeating Widow, reflects her past. The area resembles the Weavenests and, later on, matches the cradle. The same ambient music that plays in the Weavenests is also played here, and the same whispers from the burial spires are also heard here. After Hornet makes her way through the area, we're given a cutscene that shows all of the Weavers when they were in servitude to Grandmother Silk. Several of them are seen playing the same song on harps. The one in front and center is implied to be Widow, as this is Widow's memory. As the music coalesces, Grandmother Silk's light is seen pouring down over the Weavers. At the end of it, we get the following dialogue. For her light, eternal, our song sustains. But let's rewind to the weird silk memory section, cause there's one thing here that I neglected to mention. That being the inclusion of the Weavers. Lots of them, in fact. In the beginning, they're seen surrounding Hornet, and they all flee when she wakes up. From there, as Hornet makes her way through, they'll constantly run whenever she comes near. To me, this is the core of Widow's story. It tells me a lot about her, specifically, how she must feel. Widow is described as a fanatic. That's what Hornet calls her in the Hunter's Journal, and it's the name of the achievement you get after beating her boss fight. A fanatic is someone with extreme or unreasonable enthusiasm for a belief, hobby, or, in Widow's case, a religion. Her dedication to Grandmother Silk evolved to the point of obsession, to the point that she would turn against all of her sisters, to the point where she refused to hear or see any reason. But someone who is a fanatic, for the most part, wouldn't see themselves as a fanatic. At least, not in a poor light. They would see their obsession as a good thing, something to be admired. They would see themselves as being in the right. I have no doubt Widow felt the same way, proven by how Hornet momentarily takes Widow's place in this memory section. Think about it. If we replaced Hornet with Widow, it would make sense why the Weavers are seen fleeing. It could represent how the Weavers fled Farloom, but I also see it as the Weavers fleeing their devotion to Grandmother Silk. Or at least, that's how Widow sees it. In Widow's mind, she was the only one who remained devout, while her sisters, the cowards, the turncoats, were blasphemous traitors. That creates an image of hatred, doesn't it? Widow's hatred for her treacherous sisters. But beneath that hatred, I believe, is a deep, painful loneliness. And that's because the memory section just keeps going. It gives off the impression that Hornet, or Widow, is chasing after the Weavers. To me, that paints this feeling of desperation, of striving after what once was. That feeling is only solidified with this cutscene, which is a flicker of the time when Widow was united with her sisters. when they were together under a single cause, that being their service to their mother. In Widow's mind, that union suddenly broke for seemingly without cause. Out of nowhere, all of her sisters betrayed her. They punished her so severely, so cruelly, without reason. She hates them for it, of course she would, but she's also desperate to regain the before, the past, when everything was, in her mind, right. That's why she goes to Bellhart. That's why she traps all of the residents under one thread, one cause. That's why she proclaims union upon thread, an entire world strung to serve, or, in other words, an entire world bound together in duty. This is only reflected in Widow's name. A widow is a wife who has lost her spouse. Historically, widows were also called a relict, which derives from the Latin relictus, which translates to left behind. Additionally, the black widow spider includes the name widow due to how the females often kill and eat the male after mating, which leaves the wife behind alone. What a fitting name for the weaver who was abandoned. The weaver who was left behind in her obsession. I said in the beginning of this video that Widow's story was one of obsession and ostracization. I hope I've explained it all to the point where you guys can see that as clearly as I can. When you really dig into it, when you really think about it, it's actually quite sad. Classic Hollow Knight, right? You fight a boss, assume nothing of it, then when you actually peer into their lore, you're hit with the equivalent of a Greek tragedy. But there you have it, the story of Widow the Weaver, a spider whose obsessive devotion cost her her family, her identity, and her silk. What can we learn from her? Well, maybe not to blindly follow what you've always known. That would be a good lesson to just keep in your back pocket. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye-bye!